Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show in which I'm constantly trying to find answers to questions that I never thought to ask. And I come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with Dog Cat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. Oh, I still have my... didn't even notice. I have my Punisher logo up. Why not? It's got the moon background to it, kind of fits it. I'll just leave it. What the heck? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. It's the penultimate day of the work week. We're back again into the wonderful world of off-brand TED Talks. And this week, we're going to ask a question that I didn't even think to ask. Why aren't people voting anymore? I'm kind of surprised that people aren't voting anymore, since several million people just voted in at least the American presidential election. I don't know what our speaker is talking about explicitly. Maybe he's talking worldwide or something. I don't know. But he asked the question. I'm curious about the answer. Mainly because, now again, I don't usually go to the effort of reading the descriptions of videos unless the title is completely ambiguous and I need a little bit of context. But I couldn't help but notice one word inside of the description that caused me to be, well, maybe not one word, but the context of one word. Apparently the speaker is going to blame individualism for something. And I'm kind of like, what's wrong with individualism? Is he going to argue for collectivism? Is this a stealth argument for communism? Is this a subversive Trojan horse? I guess we will find out together. And by together, who's joining me on this beautiful Thursday evening? Alice Morgan, good evening. Keeverdam, good evening. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link to the global giving charity for the LA wildfire victims. If you guys can take a look at that, that's pinned to the top of the chat box. If you're able to donate, please do so. But even if you're not, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, providing the link. Mr. E, good evening. Tier Alexander, hello. JB, good evening. The Alexandier, good evening. Mykar, hello. Miranda Stone, well, everybody, Miranda Stone is here. You know about Miranda Stone. Angelverse, good evening. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Funtime Bats, hello. Resolute Germ, good evening. Daryl Brewer, hello. Gulf City, Peterbilt Confederacy. There's a name I don't get to say very often. Hello. Judge Ugly, good evening. John Trioxin, good evening. The Best Remy, hello. Attack Alpaca, hello. The Blakester, hello. The Lovely Sherry, as opposed to all the other Sherrys. This is the lovely one, hello. Who else is here? Walter Tomaszewski, good evening. Morgan King, hello. No Name, hello. Who else is here? Some Namnyon Nation, good evening. Spoonie the Rebel, hello. Oh boy, so many people here today. Spider-Man, good evening. Daryl Odell, hello. Rotten Corpse, good evening. Zan Wild, hello. And Vader35, good evening. And if anybody that I missed, I hope not, anybody lurking or anybody in the future, good evening. Yes, so tonight, a bit more of a, I suppose, cerebral TEDx. Not a very controversial subject, unless there's something behind the question. But yeah, pickings were kind of, well, I guess pickings weren't slim this week so much as there was a lot of repetition in subject matter in things that came up in the last week from TEDx. So I decided to go for something, maybe a little benign. Who knows? We'll find out together. Tonight's bingo card is bingo card A as in the candidate being the winner of the poll on X for the best election-oriented film. The other contenders were Election, strangely enough, and Bob Roberts. Bob Roberts is a little maybe obscure for you youngins, but it was a thing at the time. And I think it was Jack Black's first film role, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, outside of all that, get your bingo cards ready. If you're watching on X or have access to X, I'm currently simulcasting on X. So if you want to retweet that out or re-exit out or whatever they're calling it these days, that'd be cool too. Brian Morissette, good evening. Tall Person, hello. And with that, let us begin. I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. This one clocks in at just under 12 minutes. Get your bingo cards ready, keep your ears open, and let's see what our speaker has to say to the question, why aren't people voting anymore? I did a little research ahead of this with the question. I wanted to know for sure about American voting, but let's find out.
It's 2019.
No, it's 2025. I'm being a smartass. Everybody hear that okay? Let me know in the chat. Any other hellos here otherwise before I keep going? Sounds good, says Mike R. Well, if Mike R says he can hear it, then everything should be fine.
I just moved to the Netherlands.
Oh.
It's 2023. I just got a chance to vote in the Dutch elections.
Okay, well, congratulations.
You see, I'm from Pakistan.
Uh-huh.
Democracy might not be the first word that comes into your mind when you think of Pakistan.
It certainly is not the first word that comes to my mind. Yeah.
I still remember when I was 12 years old.
Oh, when you were 12 years old. That sounds like a childhood or family anecdote. Let's circle that one on the board. Let's see. Let me get my circle ready with the color green for tradition here. Childhood or family anecdote, circling that on the bingo card, and free space because it's free.
12 years old.
Uh-huh.
And I was playing at my cousin's house, and we heard some noise downstairs. So we glanced over the balcony, and we saw a big bus and some big men.
Big men with guns?
Shoving people inside and taking them away.
Oh.
We did not understand what happened.
Oh, was it the Americans?
So in the evening, we found one of our neighbors who was, let's say he was kidnapped, and then we asked him what happened. And he said, well, this is a premium transportation service that this political party provides. They take you to the voting booth, and you have to vote for them.
Ah, so not exactly a democracy in Pakistan. I'm shocked.
This is where I'm from. And Pakistan is not the problem here. It is a young country.
Pakistan is a young country? Admittedly, I am not a world history major, so I guess it depends on what you mean by young.
It has its own host of problems. Democracy is a work in progress.
Sure, if that's what you want to call it.
And that's okay. But here in the Netherlands, this is a mature democracy. I'm excited to vote. I want to see how it works.
You want to see how voting works? Okay.
So that's why the next day, when I look at the statistics, I get a bit confused.
Okay, well, if he's talking about voting habits in the Netherlands, then I suppose I've got nothing to say. I did some research ahead of time. I was curious. I don't know if he was talking about voting globally or in America or elsewise, because in America, the rough estimate of the percentage of eligible voters that voted in the 2024 election was 62.4%. That's slightly down from the estimate of 66.8% in the 2020 election, which overall I think is a fairly good turnout, but I don't know what it compares to other countries. But the Netherlands, don't the Netherlands still operate under a king? It's probably just like Britain or something where it's just ceremonial.
I see 1 in 4 Dutch people did not show up to vote. Let me rephrase that. 1 in 4 Dutch people did not choose to show up.
What's the population of the Netherlands? Netherlands is like a small country, isn't it? 17.88 million as of 2023. Okay. What's the population of Los Angeles? Oh, only 3.8 million. I thought it was bigger than that. 3.8 million. Okay. Well, anyway, so 17 million people for the entire country of the Netherlands. Okay. Not that that matters, I suppose. I'm just curious.
In a society where you have the freedom to choose, choosing not to make a choice, that's amazing.
Unless there's so little difference between the political factions in the Netherlands that it feels almost like a moot point. But again, I don't know much about the Netherlands' political structure.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing here today to understand with you why people aren't voting anymore.
Okay.
The Netherlands is actually one of the good ones.
One of the good ones? What do you mean?
In the UK this year, 1 in 3 people did not show up to vote. In France, 1 in 2 people did not show up to vote. Yeah.
Okay, so it's overall electoral apathy in the European Union?
Even I'm shocked.
I wonder why that might be. I wonder why people might think that voting in... Well, I understand the UK isn't European Union anymore, but, it takes time for people to change their minds about certain things. Huh.
And I want to understand why.
Okay.
And for that, there are multiple reasons, but I want to share 3.
3? That's a list. Circling a list on the board. Let's go over the bingo card one time. Remember what we are listening for. As I apparently am losing my voice. Hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon. So remember, this is bingo card A. Links to the bingo cards are in the description. We have collectivize his own demographic, systemic/institutional, that could come into play, sales pitch for product or service. I guess it depends if he's going to be offering up something to get people to vote. We already circled childhood or family anecdote, diversity, equity, and or inclusion. None of that yet. Plays victim. Not yet that I know of. Microaggressions or unconscious bias. Again, those have to be elements of his presentation in some way, shape, or form. Privilege. Yes, I'm going to circle that one because unlike Pakistan, people in the Netherlands have the choice to vote rather than being forced to vote, so that is a privilege. Let's see. Contradicts own point or fails to make argument. Patriarchy. Not yet. Deceptive statistics. I don't think there's anything deceptive so far about his estimates of voter turnout in the other countries, but we'll see. Economic disparity, feminism, marginalized or marginalization, white supremacy, word salad, self-vilification or wretchedness, weightless example or non sequitur, attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase, mind reading or assumes motives, benevolent condescension, anecdote that probably never happened, and leaves out vital context. So far, excuse me, on the board, we have childhood or family anecdote, privilege, free space, and a list. If you end up having an argument for a square to be circled, hold on to it, and I will get to all of you at the end of the TEDx.
Number 1, government and the issue of trust. Number 2, media and the issue of misinformation. Number 3, us and the issue of choice.
Us and the issue of choice. The media and misinformation. I feel like this could be an applicable argument that someone could make or would make in America too. So let's see how it goes.
So let's talk about the government.
Okay.
Governments and institutions are quite important for democracy.
Yes, you are correct.
You see, if institutions start losing trust, democracy begins to falter.
It depends. I need some more information.
Let me tell you a story
I love stories.
of Greta and Jurgen.
Did they go walking in the woods and leave a trail of breadcrumbs to try to find their way home, but they got eaten up by the birds? They got lost and found an old lady. Oh, wait, no, that's something else.
Greta and Jurgen have not seen their children properly for the last 10 years.
Not seen their children properly? In many ways that could go.
They only get to see them once every month for 4 hours.
Are they terrible parents or did something else happen?
4 hours.
Uh-huh.
Why?
I'm guessing, let's see. Perhaps the state deemed them unfit parents, and so they're in foster care of some kind, or I don't know.
Well, Greta and Jurgen are part of 10,000 families who were falsely accused of tax fraud by the tax department here in the Netherlands.
Okay, this is a story I have no knowledge of.
3,000 children were taken away from these families, and Greta and Jurgens were one of them.
Their children were taken away for tax fraud? I'll have to look that one up later. That sounds ridiculous.
I just dropped my child at childcare this morning.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how I would feel when after this event I go to pick her up and she's not there.
Uh-huh.
Who would I trust anymore?
That sounds so incredible that I could almost believe it's true. I don't think that's an anecdote that never happened in the sense of the story, because that sounds easily verifiable. Tax fraud? So it's almost like debtor's prison or something. Or holding your kid ransom. What? When was this recent?
Maybe I wouldn't vote anymore. 15 years this went on.
15 years of taking people's children over false accusations of tax fraud. Really?
4 elections, 6 cabinets, nothing changed.
Okay.
Till someone got exposed.
Someone got exposed? You mean aside from the fact that thousands of children were being effectively kidnapped in exchange for ransom money? Okay.
Why would you trust the government? And that is the problem that I'm trying to understand.
Well, if you don't trust the government, why wouldn't you then vote out the people that were in charge of the thing that did wrongly? Unless Netherlands is so corrupt that it's just like Pakistan. I don't get it.
For democracy to work, we need to trust the government.
No. No, in fact, no. Democracy in America just worked because the majority of people did not trust the government. They did not trust Kamala Harris and what she was going to carry forward from the Biden administration. They were not happy with the government. That's why they changed it. So, no, you do not need trust in the government for democracy to work. You need trust in the electoral system to achieve the choice of the people. That's true. So if that's what you mean, sure. But trust in the government itself on the whole is not necessary for democracy to operate.
There is no other way.
There's plenty of ways.
But how do you trust the government when the government chooses to lie to you?
Every government lies. Every government lies. No government should be trusted. This is why, the president is a temporary occupant of the Oval Office. We don't elect kings or lifelong appointments or anything for our presidents and our elected officials and so on. Okay, this guy's. I think I understand where he's coming from, but he's got it completely wrong.
They choose to hide stuff from you.
They always do. Every government does. Every government does.
Let me be clear. I am not against making mistakes.
Well, even if you were, it would be irrelevant.
You try to make decisions for 17 million people. You will also make a mistake.
Okay, well then, someone's mistake could be another person's betrayal, and automatically they distrust the government, and thus democracy can't work, right? Boy, oh boy. I'm not a political science major. I'm sure there's somebody in the chat that knows the mechanisms of politics and political systems far better than I do. And if you do, by all means, end up correcting me either later on or in the comments. But I think this guy's about 2 steps off from his point.
Mistakes are normal. Mistakes are human. The problem is when you make mistakes and you choose to hide it.
Well, yes, that is true. If you make a mistake as a public figure during work hours and under taxpayer money and you decide to try to conceal it, that is not good. It's true.
Problem is when you make mistakes based on some black box algorithms and try to cover it up. That is the problem that needs to be fixed. And
okay, well, why aren't you arguing? Okay, if this was a talk about the broken system of the Netherlands for tax fraud cases and children being taken away, well, we'd be having a completely different conversation. But instead, we're talking about why don't people vote anymore because they don't trust the government.
Governments have to show us why we should trust them.
Trust, no. Hope for the best. It's not quite that simple. There's no trust. You know, like, I trust that the representative that I'm voting for, if that person wants to get reelected the next time, will fulfill the promises they make on the campaign trail, right? That's as much as I can trust about the person, but it's not so much trust as hold them accountable by way of my vote the next time around, if they're running again. Okay. So putting hope and some semblance of trust into someone in order to get my vote, sure, to a limited extent. But after that, it's like, now put your money where your mouth is. I don't know. I'm sure there's a far more articulate way to say this, and someone in some political science book somewhere has already said it. I'm just rambling because I'm a layman.
Number two. Media. Mm-hmm. Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Ressa once said, when there are no facts, there is no truth.
I'm not sure that works either.
And there is no truth, there is no trust. And when you don't have a shared truth, you don't have a democracy.
If you don't have a shared truth, that's also nonsense. Okay. We're talking some utopian, single-minded kind of thinking here. Okay. You're not supposed to trust your government. You're supposed to keep an eye on them and hold them accountable. No. Okay. And there is not one truth. This is why we have political parties. Different people all wanting effectively the same goal, but having vastly sometimes different ideas about how to get there, i.e. the prosperity and security of the country, or at least of their, immediate area, and by extension, the country. So, no, you do not need to trust the government for democracy to work. No, there does not have to be, and there should not be, a single truth for a democracy to operate. Maybe I'm overstating what he's about to say. I don't know, but this is not starting off well. Chicago Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Is it just me or is this guy talking like William Shatner? I don't know. Is he talking about the electoral system? Chicago Mike. Bones. No, that's if that's my best William Shatner, I'm doing poorly. Maybe it's a little halting, but then I assume, and again, what happens when you assume that English is his second language, but who knows?
You see, media and democracy are intricately linked.
Yes.
You have the one thing that relies on an informed voter base, and you have the other thing that is responsible for providing the right information to that voter base.
The right information. If you mean accurate, that is the hope. But just like the government and politicians, the old quote goes, trust but verify.
When one thing is not working properly, the other thing will not be at its best.
And hopefully the market forces will make that fix itself in time. It's taken an awfully long time.
And that is exactly what is happening today. Misinformation, because of technology, scale, or just because any one of us can share whatever we want on the internet.
Yeah, I know. Any of us can share whatever we want on the internet. Oh my God, freedom of speech and personal responsibility to verify before you start going down a pathway on baseless information or twice told tales or something. Yeah, no, there's a greater responsibility to the individual to, again, verify, use critical thinking. Don't take the first thing someone says as fact without corroboration. if there's something I hope that schools, parents, society in general starts promoting in the youths, the two youths in this world, it's always get a second source, preferably a third source, before you act on information that's coming through all at fast paced. Because with AI and people's reflexes and the attention spans from TikTok, yeah, incorrect information can be spread very quickly and to the detriment of things. So just check. You might end up being right anyway, or the anger that you feel seeing something being reported might be justified, but it also might not be. Find a second source. Check it first.
Has led people to not believe in one shared reality.
There is not one shared reality. Not in a scope that you're suggesting. Okay, because I might report a fact that is someone's best day, right? Like affirmative action got defeated in the Supreme Court. That is a fact. That is a singular reality. However, what that means to me is going to be vastly different to what that means to a DEI executive. We do not share the same reality, even with the same set of facts. Yeah.
Shared reality is actually quite important. If you and I cannot agree on something, how can we come together to decide on something?
Easy. It's called compromise. It's called compromise. You have two differing views on something, but you have to achieve a goal. You have to come to some kind of accord on something. Nobody's going to be walking away happy, but you might get a little bit of what you want. I feel like this guy is trying to construct a utopian ideal that I don't know. I mean, he's already put himself into a situation, or he's described his situation as one who is sort of a stranger in a strange land, right? He comes from Pakistan to the Netherlands, and suddenly it's a completely different world, a completely different landscape. I guess I can forgive him his naivete. Naivete. That's the word I was looking for. Naivete. However, he's old enough to know better from simple studying of world history and basic political science. So just no. The answer is no to everything so far.
If you and I do not believe the facts in front of us, how do we decide who to vote for?
What?
And because of so much information, you would think people would have a better sense of reality, more information, better decisions.
No. And again, it's all about corroboration and making up your own mind. And if you make up your own mind and it's completely antithetical to someone else's, that's fine. That's what happens in a free society. You can put all the facts out in front of somebody and they can still say, well, the earth is flat. And you say, okay, well, there's plenty of evidence to say that you are wrong. I don't care. The earth is flat. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? In a free society, freedom of speech, etc., short of his belief in a flat earth leading to somehow a violation of your rights, if that's what someone wants to believe, and you don't have a shared reality, and this person decides to vote for someone who also believes in a flat earth, what exactly is the recourse you'd suggest to preserve democracy?
But what you see is more information has led to countries being broken up into separate little islands of reality.
Dude, there were opposing political parties in every established country on this planet before the internet. I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you're aware. Maybe news didn't reach Pakistan that quickly, but
with everyone defending their own truth
Yeah.
and saying everyone else is the problem.
Again, this predates the information age. Yeah, Al, it predates the Bronze Age, I'm pretty sure.
To give you a very simple example, the 2020 US elections.
Oh, then okay, he is going to use the U.S. election. Here we go. It's going to be Biden wins and Trump supporters think it was stolen, right?
Were stolen.
Yes, right.
I'm quite interested to know why that did not happen last week.
Oh, this is a very recent talk. Why that didn't happen last week? Because there wasn't a suspicious giant rise in voter turnout at the last second for Biden, or for Trump, I should say, or for Harris, as there was in 2020. There was a suspicious extra millions of people that showed up to vote in 2020 that didn't show up to vote in 2024, which is, even if you put all the other conspiracy theories aside, it's like, wow, an extra like 6 or 7 million people didn't show up to vote in 2024 that were there for Biden in 2020. Makes you wonder. But yeah, you know what? But you also know why that claim wasn't made this time around. Well, because the Democrats effectively neutered any opportunity they might have had to claim there was something going wrong, especially in an election that was as decisive for Trump. Because they start claiming, oh, this was stolen or this was rigged or something else. Well, I'm not even sure the Democrats could have survived that amount of hypocrisy right out of the gate. But yeah, no, a lot of people believed and still believe that the 2020 election was stolen. And yet, our country is still here. We had an election. Democracy worked. So does that give you some information that might tend to disprove your grand utopian theory?
No one hears that anymore, that the elections were stolen.
Not as of right now, but just wait till the next time.
But in 2020, the elections were stolen.
Yeah, well, whether they were or they weren't, Joe Biden was president for 4 years, and then Kamala Harris was vice president and then presidential candidate, and she lost bigly. So,
does anyone know where did that story come from?
Yes. Yes, I do. I watched and covered portions of it. So, yeah.
It was actually an anonymous message, an email that was sent to one of the campaign attorneys of Donald Trump.
One email is the source of the election denial of 2020. Wow, did you guys know a single email started that off? It wasn't something that was being bandied about on election night. No, really?
Alleging that Dominion voting systems rigged the election in Joe Biden's favor.
That was one portion of the grand theory. It wasn't the end-all be-all.
By flipping some votes.
Uh-huh.
Fox News got some news about this, and they told the campaign attorney to come to Fox News and share this with the world. No sources were checked. Nothing was verified.
No sources were checked. Nothing was verified.
They took their version of the truth and they ran with it.
Okay. And what happened?
Because they wanted their person to win.
Yeah. And of course, the Democrats would never have done anything like that in any election there or since.
Voter fraud, election was stolen, was spread all over the world.
Are you going to talk about the Russiagate conspiracy? Huh? You going to talk about that? You're going to talk about the hundreds and God knows how many other things that they tried to dump on Trump over the course of his 4 years that were demonstrably illegitimate, setting aside anything you could legitimately claim for. There was endless conspiracy theories and accusations against Trump and investigations over those 4 years, those first 4 years. Are you exonerating Hillary Clinton from claiming the 2016 election was rigged as well? You know, Comey, etc. The emails from Hillary Clinton, and none of that. I mean, I'm not saying two wrongs make a right here, but let's be, let's share a shared truth here, shall we?
It became such a big problem that Dominion voting systems themselves sued Fox News for defamation.
Oh my God, they did. And they did. And
do you know, 2 years later, Fox News settled for $750 million.
Wow. And this has what to do with your argument? Oh, because now people don't trust Fox News? I don't know if you know this, but Fox News has, I think the last top 500 broadcasts came from Fox News, and CNN and MSNBC are laying a bunch of people off as of the last 48 hours or so.
But they said, we will not publicly apologize.
Well, that's what settling does. If you settle out of court, you don't have to make an admission of guilt. You're essentially buying your way out of having to go through bigger problems. It's not the most satisfactory ending to a lot of those things, sort of like with CNN being able to settle with that guy they defamed. But legally speaking, that's what you pay off for.
It's not part of the settlement.
Mm-hmm.
That is the problem with misinformation.
That is the problem with misinformation? Okay.
I have so many friends who tell me, listen to me. The problem is, if you have the right critical thinking skills, you don't need to worry about misinformation. If you know how to make the difference between truth and noise, you're fine.
No, it's about corroboration. It's about finding independent sources to verify what you're hearing. That's the best you can do, especially if you're at distance from a particular event, not there witnessing it yourself.
But that is not true. Misinformation, once out there, will confuse you.
If you choose to take single sources.
It is actually called the continued influence effect. Information once out there that has been debunked still confuses you with your perception of reality.
Again, how many times do we have Trump be asked, you called everybody in that riot fine people, didn't you? Or you said you were going to put Liz Cheney onto a firing squad. You want to bring up any of those examples?
So where do we go from here?
I don't even know where we are to begin with. What are we talking about again? The media is untrustworthy. Welcome to the... Okay. I don't know what to tell you, dude. It's not just Fox News. You talk about CNN and the Covington kid. You know, talk about news organizations being sued for false information. I don't know. It's a few years old now. You could have known about that one. Or like MSNBC putting out Trump's tax records like it was a big deal. I feel like I say, I'm trying to extend a certain amount of benefit of the doubt here, because if our speaker's story is true and he just came from Pakistan and that world and that mindset to the Netherlands, then maybe after a fashion he really was born yesterday. Thank you again, Chicago Mike. In a speech about misinformation, he's providing misinformation. I know. It's ironic, don't you think? It's like rain. When your umbrella is broken. Or something.
The answer to me is simple.
Okay.
The answer is regulation.
Whoa. Okay, we took a left turn. Whoa, hold on. Took a left turn there, or right turn. I don't know which. The answer is regulation. Okay. What regulation would you want to impose to prevent Fox News or, well, any news organization from putting out incorrect information? Aside from the laws already in place, like slander and libel and so on.
You cannot talk about anything online without being accountable for it.
United Kingdom, is that you?
And I know what you're thinking.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking? Well, that's mind reading assumes motives. I'll circle that one on the board. Oh boy. With just a couple of minutes left, we suddenly got very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, you know what I'm thinking. All right. Does I assume, I could be wrong. I'm happy to be corrected. Does the Netherlands have an equivalent of the First Amendment freedom of speech law? I would hope so, but I don't know. Okay, you know what I'm thinking.
Accountable for it. And I know what you're thinking. Freedom of speech. But freedom of speech is not freedom from accountability.
Okay, king of all things, what would you do to hold someone accountable in a freedom of speech environment for saying something that you did not like? Please, oh, please tell me, as a hypothetical governmental entity, how you would hold someone accountable for what they say that is itself not inherently a crime or a threat or something else, right? Not harassment, right? What are we talking about here? Give me some details. You got a couple of minutes left.
If you deliberately are spreading lies
again
and again that have been debunked, you should be held accountable.
How?
Just like the first part with the government.
No, okay, if you don't explain what you mean, I'm circling leaves out vital context.
Transparency and accountability is key here.
Okay, well, as far as government is concerned, again, you hold a government accountable as an entity with your vote. You hold media accountable with your watch time and your dollars and so on. Now, if somebody's committed a crime, that's a whole separate issue. What are you talking? Are you talking about crimes? If I say something that's untrue over and over that's been debunked, okay, well, I'll go back to the flat earth guy. If the flat earth guy is on Twitter every day and he makes it a point every day, and he doesn't have a bot set up, he's just independently putting up unique tweets every single day about how the earth is flat. Okay. What do you do to this individual to hold him accountable for telling a lie over and over again that has been debunked? I know I'm asking rhetorically here, but I'd love to hear an answer.
I don't know.
Wait. Sorry, let me back up a little bit because I don't know. I don't know what.
With the government, transparency and accountability is key here. I don't know. How would we know the difference between the problematic free speech and the actual free speech?
Well, I'll give you a hint. Unless it is demonstrably harassment of some kind or a threat against someone's safety or life, that's why it's so nebulous. That's why it is such a high threshold. The problematic free speech. Okay, but again, all right, for the sake of argument, let's say you could distinguish between the problematic free speech and the real free speech, which somehow are not the same thing. What would you do to the transgressors? How would you hold them accountable? What powers would you bestow on a government to hold the transgressors responsible? Would you take their children away?
But the current system is not working either.
Then what is your proposal?
So we need to think of a better way.
Do you have an idea?
To give you my defense for regulation, I would like to share one example with you.
I love examples. Give me an example.
Do you know the food that we eat, the food that we buy from the supermarket is also regulated.
Yes, but there is far more uniformity in human health than there is in human speech, human ideas, human exchange. Do you know that? Do you know that rotten food affects human beings pretty much the same across the board? Do you know that rotten ideas, or at least those you may think are rotten ideas, aren't anything you can regulate away from someone's mind?
By the government and third-party institutions.
Uh-huh.
So somehow we are okay with the government checking what we put in our stomach, but we are not okay with the government checking what we put in our minds.
You're correct. Can you imagine for a moment why that might be? Now, it is ironic, don't you think, that at the beginning of this talk, he gave us a little story about a van showing up to his house and rounding people up to drive them off to vote for the people that the people in the van wanted them to vote for. The government was regulating, effectively, what they were allowed to think and say. And now he is arguing for government regulation on what you can think. Do we find a little problem here? A little issue? A little bit of a I don't know. Maybe a little bit of a...
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Right?
Yeah, that's a big old WTF there. Basically because of the contradicts own point, fails to make argument in such a drastic way, circling that one on the board. Also circling systemic institutional, because he's talking about governments and voting systems. And he said institutions at one point as well, I think. Yeah, this went a direction I had not imagined. So you want the government to regulate what we think.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, well then maybe you should go to a country where it does make sense. And I assume it's not going to be a very pleasant time.
Lastly, I want to talk about us.
Weren't you already talking about us?
You see, democracy is a compromise.
Yes. Now take that notion back about 3 stanzas into your presentation when you were talking about people coming to having to work together to reach a solution that had different ideas about things. Are you even listening to yourself?
But how does that work when we have people who can choose not to compromise?
So you want to take people's choice away from them to not... You want to force people to vote? Because we go back to that whole people being kidnapped into vans thing back in Pakistan at the top of your... I don't mean to be a broken record. Are you listening to yourself?
Choice is such a beautiful thing.
Apparently not to you it isn't, because you want the government to regulate thought and you want to take people's ability to not vote away from them.
And for a Pakistani, it's illuminating.
Is it though? Because it sure sounds like you want to impose some Pakistani type thinking in a democracy.
You see, Pakistan is a land of a limited choice set.
Wait, what? A land? Do you say a land of limited or unlimited?
Pakistan is a land of a limited choice set.
I don't understand what he just said. I either said a limited choice or unlimited choices. What?
Some of us did not get to choose who we marry. Some of us did not get to choose what kind of career we'll have.
I guess he said a limited choice. I don't know. Okay. Were those decisions regulated by the government by any chance? I mean, the effective government?
Some of us don't get to watch wrestling late in the night at our friend's place because our mom was saying no. We don't get choices.
So why don't you go back a step or three to that whole regulating thought thing?
Choices are made for us.
Yeah. This guy's incredible. He seems to have some kind of like short-term memory loss, paragraph to paragraph in his own presentation.
But here, choices are made by you.
Yeah, and someone can choose not to vote. That is a choice someone can make. It's a very binary thing. Do I want to participate in the electoral system in my country? The answer is yes, I can. The answer is no, I don't have to. You want to change that, do you?
And that is what's amazing about democracy. Democracy provides you the freedom to make your own choice. But it also requires you to compromise that choice.
It depends on what we're talking about. I mean, if I am a lifelong member of Party X, and I'm only going to vote for people in Party X no matter what, I don't have to compromise. Oh my gosh.
Choosing to compromise is an amazing concept.
Yeah.
In Pakistan, we don't have a choice. It has been taken away from us. Well, I married this person because my mom said so. I became a lawyer because my dad said so.
Oh, so you had other people regulating your thoughts and decisions. Sort of like, food.
Sorry, Ahmed, I cannot come and watch wrestling with you because it's late in the night.
Well, you're a big wrestling fan, huh?
Choices are taken away.
Uh-huh.
It is easy. But going out and choosing to vote, even if you don't like the candidates, going out, reading the manifestos, even though most of them are not that good. Choice and compromise. That is remarkable.
Yeah, and if I don't feel like it, I don't have to. Okay, so, going along with your previous example, how would you hold someone accountable for not voting?
Democracy is not just about you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, either I participate or I don't. Right? In my own little spherical world of the 2 feet around me, democracy is about me. Right? I'm not a mind reader. I can read the tea leaves on some things, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're all effectively working towards our own benefit. Right? Now, there might be a collective benefit when it comes to the fortunes of the country and so on, but ultimately, I'm voting for me in one way, shape, or form when I choose to vote. Like in this last election, and the one before it, and the one before that. I chose to vote in all of the local and state elections. I abstained from voting in the presidential election. Well, I guess technically I didn't abstain. I wrote in my father's name because I wasn't that jazzed with either of the candidates in the last 3 presidential elections. So I just thought, rather than put my endorsement behind somebody that I'm not quite sure about for different reasons or very not sure about for other reasons, So I chose to do what I did and chose to withhold what I withheld. What did I do wrong?
Or me. Democracy is about all of us coming together to protect the freedoms that make you, you.
Having the freedom not to vote is a freedom.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so How should someone be held accountable for saying the wrong thing on the internet? I don't know. I guess take your cues from the United Kingdom. People should be forced or regulated into what they should be able to think or say, but we're not going to talk about how we're going to distinguish that. You shouldn't have the implication being you shouldn't have the freedom to not vote. I guess I don't know. I don't know. That was well, that's what you get. That's what you get from TEDx when you don't have a whole lot of reference. When you do a little bit of a mystery box. Let's see how much. There we go. That works. Okay. Well, let's put the music back on. Let's try to calm things down a bit. There we go. All right. It's time for the bingo card. Let me pull up my deal here. Save that there. Refresh here. There we go. That's what the bingo card looks like right now. I'm going to go over it one more time by myself. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them. I will get to you momentarily. And let's see where we go. Collectivizes own demographic. It's about us. I guess. Sure. Why not? A little generalized, but whatever. You know, voters, etc. What is that? Why did that happen? I don't know why that happened. Okay. Let's see. Sales pitch for product or service. No, I was surprised. I thought he'd be giving us some kind of like app spiel or something. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not so as you'd notice. Plays victim. Yeah, he wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. Also, it was terrible in Pakistan, yet I want to bring some of that old-time thinking over here to the Netherlands. Microaggressions are unconscious bias. Not that I recall. Patriarchy, no. Deceptive statistics. Unless there was something overly weird about it, the rate of voting in Netherlands, I think it said Netherlands, Germany, and the UK, I think it was. But I could believe that not everybody in these countries voted. Not everybody in America voted, so it sounds reasonable to me. Economic disparity. Not that I recall. Feminism, no. Marginalization. No. White supremacy, no. Word salad. Yeah, I'm circling word salad because the absolute disconnect from one thing to another just was overwhelming. It wasn't just contradicts own point or argument. It was like there was no cohesion from one point to the next. Self-vilification or wretchedness. Not that I recall. Weightless example or non sequitur. The Dominion voting scandal. What did that have to do with anything? How did that prove a point in what he was talking about? I don't know. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Not that I heard. Benevolent condescension. Yeah, the whole food safety versus thought safety thing. Well, maybe that's just me, but yeah. Anecdote that probably never happened. I don't know that he gave us any anecdotes that I couldn't believe. The Dominion thing really happened. People not believing 2020 election, that happened. Yeah, I don't know. Well, aside from the children being taken away because of tax fraud. That seems like such an outlandish thing to say that there has to be some truth to it. So, yeah. And lastly, leaves out vital context. Yes. Suggestions for how he would solve these things. How would you actually hold somebody accountable for wrongthink, and so on and so forth. So that is the card as I have it right now. No bingos yet, but we're close. If I have some good arguments in here. So if you guys have arguments for squares to be circled, put them in the chat now. If I've missed you, please just repost your suggestion. And thank you, Kiro Soldier, very much. Isn't it a little ironic in how those who defend democracy the most are the closest to being anti-democratic or even communist? Well, this felt like some kind of Trojan horse towards authoritarianism. It's like, democracy is great as long as you participated. You will be required to participate. Free speech is great as long as you think the right things. It's like, what? So I'm not quite sure if this was an intentional Trojan horsing or if this guy is just so new to the ideas of democracy outside of Pakistan, that he hasn't quite got a handle on it yet. And there's some old programming that's taking over. I don't know. But let me scroll up here a little bit. If you tag me in your comment, it is easier for me to spot. Gen T Maxi, a member of the 51st state. Freedom of speech comes with a little freedom to be offended. Growing up makes that easier. Yeah. But most people don't know how to grow up anymore. Advocast Diabli, Scribe Light, the voters stats, he said 1 out of 3 voters. That is not necessarily 1 out of 3 voters, which makes the stats questionable and most likely deceptive. And 1 out of 3 voters in the UK didn't vote. Okay, I mean, you could say 1 out of 3 voters in America didn't vote in the last election, and you'd be correct, because it was around 62 to 66% in the last couple elections. You know, so plus or minus the margin of error, and you've effectively got 2/3 voted and about 1/3 didn't. I don't feel that that's so beyond the beyond that it's deceptive. So unless somebody's got something within the context of the talk, unless you've got something else, just saying that, you know, 1 out of 4 didn't vote or 1 out of 3 didn't vote, it sounds reasonable to me. Let's see. Assassin of the Gray. His entire mindset reveals he has no business living in Western civilization. He can. Now freedom of speech. He can say these things, and this is exactly the process. He gets on a stage. He speaks his mind. He says what he has to say about things, and we have the freedom to analyze, critique, and debunk as we go. That's the life of things. Let's see. T. Alexander, I find the Neanderthal thing? Oh, it was because of their IRS claiming the parents' guardians were fraudulently claiming child care benefits. Okay. So that, he summarized it, but he was effectively telling a true story. Okay. All right. Okie Native, thank you so much. 1 in 3 people doesn't vote. 1 in 200 dead people might in a really bad election cycle for Dems. I'd say generally only 1 in 2,000 do in good years. I always love it when they come out and say, oh yeah, this lady that's been dead for 20 years voted in the last election. Like, wow, zombie voters. Zombie voters. Made in Hell, my 18-year-old son listened to this and said, my dude, that's not how a compromise works. Yeah. My way or the highway. That's yeah. You will think what I allow you to think and what you should think. That's compromise, as in you compromise everything for my benefit. See, that's how compromise works. Let's see. 1 in 3 is not the same as 1. What? Oh, okay. Sorry. I am an English major, not a math major. I took him to say that 1/3 of voters didn't vote. I don't think, there might be a translation thing there or something. What I took that to mean is 1/3 of eligible voters in the UK did not vote, or 1/4 of eligible voters, etc. I don't feel like that was deceptive. That might have been he might have misspoke. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. I know. I'm going to extend him the benefit of the doubt that he was talking about 1/4 of voters, 1/3 of voters. He just framed it incorrectly. But is it untrue? Did 2/3 of UK voters vote and 1/3 did not in recent elections? Yeah, I'm going to at least extend him that much benefit of the doubt. Misspeaking something or misphrasing something that is true does not a deceptive statistic make. Let's see. Datura Jones. There's more eligible voters than our total, so more than 1/3 voters. Probably. Let's see. Okie Native. My girlfriend's dead dad voted in 2016. He died in 2015. They sent him a mail-in ballot this election as well. Okay, well, if he voted in 2016, that means somebody filled out the ballot and sent it in. That is vote fraud. More people voted than didn't in the UK. Well, of course more people voted than didn't. Because he said 2/3 voted, 1/3 didn't. So, am I just completely on a different planet here? Because I understood what he was saying, even if he phrased it incorrectly. But, again, even if I just take the stats that I know for America, 1/3, effectively 1/3 of the eligible voters in this country did not vote in the recent election. I don't think there's anything deceptive about it. I know everybody's really on to get some squares circled, but unless there's something demonstrably deceptive about those statistics, I don't think there's anything deceptive about it. Not everybody votes in every election. Now, that might be new to him, maybe, but I don't think it's deceptive. Chicago Mike, deceptive statistics. Fox News settlement was admitting guilt when it was just a settlement. Well, they settled because they knew they were going to probably lose in court. That is true. It's not admitting guilt. And they didn't have to apologize. But that's not a statistic. That's just an anecdote. That's a claim. So, yeah. I thought he said 1 out of 4, not 1 out of 3. Well, I took him to mean that 1/3 of eligible voters chose not to vote, and 1/4 of eligible voters chose not to vote in the countries he's talked about. I didn't take the couple of things he said literally like 1 out of 4 people or something. Like, okay. Faithless, you just assumed his motive. Good gravy. Good gravy. Deter Jones, some people just don't care about voting aspect of politics, and that should be okay. Yeah. You have the freedom not to vote as much as you have the freedom to vote. Scribeblade, I will argue deceptive statistics didn't explain why the 1 in 3 stat exists. Also, 1 in 3 people, some of them not old enough to be... Okay, again, I am going to extend to him the benefit of the doubt that he was meaning 1/3 of eligible voters in these countries, or 1/4 of eligible voters chose not to vote. I'm at least willing to give him that much. I'm an English major. I get very, very nitpicky when it comes to word choice. But in this instance, I understood what he was saying, and it didn't sound deceptive to me. So I don't know why we're hung up on this. Is a 1/3 eligible voter deciding, or eligible voters deciding not to vote, is that a lie? Is that something that is so out there and beyond the beyond that I would think it's being intentionally misleading? No, because again, research I did before the show, 1/3 of eligible voters in America effectively did not vote in the last election, so it does not sound beyond the beyond. Okay. I mean, if I zapped every TEDx speaker for misspeaking a relatively benign idea, then yeah, we'd have a lot of easily circled squares, I guess. But it doesn't fulfill the requirements of the square as far as I'm concerned. There was nothing deceptive about it. You know, if he said something like, 1/3 of Netherlands voters chose not to vote, and that means that, they're communists or something. Maybe. I don't know. Too generous? Blitz says, you're pretty generous. Well, in this instance, I don't really see the argument. And you know me, I'm all for a creative argument, but I don't see how that's some grand conspiracy that's meant to sway my opinion on something in a dishonest fashion. Him misspeaking does not a deceptive statistic make. Let's see. Meanwhile, I point out a square that's blatantly obvious and is like pulling teeth with tweezers. What? Okay, Native, you extend him this courtesy because you're a good person and want to believe in the goodness of people, Scribe. No, it's not. You guys, Okay, somebody's going to have to explain to me how him saying in the way that he did was deceptive when I took him to mean 1/3 or 1/4 of voters. I don't get that. If he said 1 in 4 people, right, that would be 25%. Okay, anyway, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend. I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay, we're moving on from that. If someone wants to explain it to me in a more concise way on the Discord or something later, that's fine. Scribelight Patriarchy, when he spoke about Pakistan and fathers/parents dictating your life. He also spoke about his mother not letting him watch wrestling. So having your wife chosen for you in your career, it wasn't just mom, it wasn't just dad. And again, if somebody said, well, Pakistan's a patriarchy, well, possible. But did he say that in the talk? I know, I'm being really picky here. I just, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, like I say, I think that was one of the most contentious arguments I've ever had. It's not even a bingo square. I don't have the bar that high, but still. He only gave, that was the only instance of statistics he ever gave in the entire talk. So I understand that one instance is all he's got to make that square. But anyway. Any other arguments for me to circle? Scribelight, did you circle non sequitur? I did. Thought I did, didn't I? Yeah, weightless example non sequitur. Yes. Yeah, for the whole Dominion voting thing and what that had to do with trust in the media and what his point was. He diverted so long onto that, it didn't make any sense. Let's see. Any other arguments for squares to be circled? I know, guys. I know. The goal here is not necessarily to get bingos or to fill out the card. It is to have a vibrant discussion about the subject matter of the talk itself, points therein, and arguments for other squares and circles and so on can always be made either in the comments below or on the Discord server. Discord server, a link to which I will prepare now because I may not have earlier. I got everything else ready, and then I didn't get it's always the Discord link. Discord link, I always leave to the last second. Yeah, so again, in the American election of 2024, approximately 62.4% of the voting public voted in the election. So margin of error-wise, that leaves approximately a third of voters, or a little bit more, who didn't vote in the election. So such numbers are not untoward or out of the ordinary. Let's see. Scribelight, I don't know why, but what he mentioned about Fox feels like it could cover a box. Not sure which one, though. Well, let's see. I circled weightless example non sequitur for it because it was so specific and yet had nothing to do with, trust in media or shared facts or something, I guess, but it was such a departure from everything else, and he spent so much time on it. Otherwise, anecdote that probably never happened, well, except it did happen. Dominion voting did sue Fox, and Fox did pay a bunch of money for it. Buzzword, buzz phrase, no. Economic disparity, no. No, not that I know of. Unless he said something about his time in Pakistan that you could draw to an economic disparity or poverty or something. I don't remember if he said anything about poverty in Pakistan, but I wouldn't disbelieve it if someone could say so. That van story was a bit dubious to me. What, that in Pakistan people were being rounded up to go vote and being forced to vote and press ganging to vote for a particular party? In Pakistan, I could believe it. And given our speaker's penchant for wanting to force things onto people while talking about democracy and choice, I could still believe it. Let's see. Oh, maybe the email, because that seemed... Oh, right. You know what? That is true. Anecdote that probably never happened. Very good. I forgot about that. Yeah. It wasn't a single email that started the theory that the 2020 election was fraudulent. There was lots and lots and lots of different theories about lots and lots of different mechanisms. Dominion was just one. So I will circle leaves out vital context. Anecdote that probably never happened for that one. That's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Does Circle get the square? Where's Paul Lind? If you get the reference, then you're old. Well, if I never... I can't do a Paul Lind. But, he was Templeton the Rat in Charlotte's Web. So... Wilbur. I can't do a Paul Lind. I think Tom Connors can do a Paul Lind all right. Yeah, no, I know. I get that reference, even though all that stuff was pretty old even when I was young. Let's see. Hollywood Squares, yes, Red Feather. Hollywood Squares. Center Square, Paul Lind. Mark Smart. All these squares make a cycle. All these circles make a cycle. All these squares make a cycle. Yeah. Are you talking about like the negative space? They form something? Mm-hmm. They should remake that show. I thought they hadn't they relatively recently? I thought there was a modern version of that already out there. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, guys. Well, I don't see many other arguments being made. I'm not sure there are any. This is a fairly focused talk in the sense they didn't go all over the place, and it was just very much nonsensical. What he was talking about and describing was not democracy. What he was cheering on was not a free society or freedom of speech. He was wrapping up authoritarianism in the veneer of democracy, which sounds a lot like what he described was going on in Pakistan. So I don't know. Like I say, I want to try to give the guy the benefit of the doubt that he's still experiencing a world outside the bubble that was Pakistan. But if I'm being real cynical, I might be kind of Trojan horsing it, I suppose. But anyway, if I missed your argument for a square to be circled, or you'd like to refine it or restate it in some way, shape, or form, by all means, you can always put it into the comments below if you see this after it's posted, or you can always join the Discord server. Did you know I have a Discord server? I have a Discord server. Link to the Discord server is in the chat right now. All you have to do is click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you're not a bot, are actually a person, and actually watch the show, and have thus earned the right, the entitlement, the privilege of joining the Discord server. And today's secret word is 1 in 3. Just say hello, 1 in 3, and I'll know that you watched the show for sure. Apologies to anyone who I bruised in their feelings. But you're free to rail against me in the Discord server as always, and I will be happy to respond. And if you come up with an argument that wasn't previously stated, or I missed, or refines a previous argument that does lead to a square being circled, and as well leads to a bingo, I will update the card, post that to the Discord server, and make a note of it in the comments. Elsewise, everybody, I want to thank you all for joining me for this somewhat off-the-beaten-path TEDx. It wasn't as weird or controversial as some, but it did definitely take an interesting turn there at the third act. If you'd like to see more of me, or hear more of me, I should say, you can find me here Sunday for the Sunday stream at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, where I'll talk about some news stories of the week, and boy howdy, every single day has got more news stories that are just cray-cray, especially with Trump back in office, and I'll have a couple of those for you on Sunday. As well, you can find me, probably, unless something goofy happens, on Friday morning at 9:05 a.m. Pacific, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time on Midnight's Edge in the morning, where we'll talk about movie news and probably the claim that the Captain America 4 movie only had a budget of $180 million. I'm sure it did, but it decidedly went way, way, way over budget. They're trying to cover that up for some reason. I wonder why. We'll find that out tomorrow on Midnight's Edge. There might also be, ambush streams from time to time when news stories come up that I have the ability to talk about or have the gumption to do so. You can also follow me on X. You can see there in the bottom corner, @scribe_light. Also, almost never mentioned, I have a merch store in the description below. You can get yourself a Pepper Jack t-shirt or a Scribe Light coffee mug with a TED Excellence logo on it. And I think those are pretty. I got one of my own of that. And a Pepper Jack t-shirt. I like those. Anyway, I think that's it, everybody. Divine Petulance. Hello. And Mike R. Guten Nacht. Ja, mein Freund. Guten Nacht. Guten Abend. Meine Damen und Herren. Everyone, hope you enjoy. Oh, sorry. Let me get everything in my mind. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to, please take a look at the top of the chat box, the link to the Global Giving Charity for the California wildfire victims. Again, if you can donate, please do so. Thank you so much for your guys' generosity on that, for myself or for that charity. Otherwise, everyone, I hope you have a good rest of your Thursday evening. I hope you have a relatively, if not completely, smooth Friday ahead of you into the weekend. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.